Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who are joining us on the replay, I'm so sorry that I missed you live, but I do thank you for coming and checking this out. So whether you're watching on YouTube or on the replay here in Buffy's Toolbox group, either way, I thank you. So for those of you who are popping in live, make sure that when you come in that you say hello. Just let me know that you're here. Sometimes Facebook lets me know, sometimes they don't. So it just helps for you to just say hello when you come in. That way I know that there is in fact someone here. Also that my comments are working, because sometimes that doesn't always happen either. So today we are going to be talking about what is it that you are willing to do. What is it that you are willing to do? Okay, so here's the thing. Many of us know what we're supposed to be doing in our businesses and what we should be doing in our businesses, what we could be doing. But what is it that you're actually willing to do? So as an example, do you know that about that of all the trainings that are ever done and things like that, do you know that on average only 1% of those people at a training are going to go away from that training and do anything with what they've learned? That's kind of a scary statistic to me. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be one of those 99%, okay? I don't want to be 99% of people who hear about things that they can do and see things that they can do, but then refuse to do them. I also don't want to be someone who sits back and says, well, I could have been successful if my upline would have fill in the blank. Okay, so it is a tricky place to kind of be in when people forget that they're the ones who are supposed to be working their business and that it is not their upline's responsibility to work their business. So just as I was thinking about some different things, I'm going, we have all learned so much going to rally and hearing the different things and everything else. But put that statistic, into the mindset of the 8,000 people that went, only about 1% of those people, and I don't know that was the actual number. I'm just throwing that out there. Okay. Hey, Heather. So we have all learned a lot of things, right? But again, let's say there was 8,000 people there. I don't think that was the number, but we're just going to go with it for a minute. Okay. And Heather, since you are my teacher friend, I'm going to have you do this. Okay. So let's just say there was 8,000 people there. What would 1% of 8,000 be? Someone comment below with that answer so that I can make sure y'all are paying attention and that everybody's hearing this. Okay, so if 8,000 people went to rally and only 1% of them are going to actually put to work anything that they've learned there, what would that number be? What is 1% of 8,000? And I'm going to wait for somebody to put it in the comment stream before I move on, because Heather already proved to me that my commenting is working. So we're going to give just a second, because I know that there's a 30 to 45 second delay from the time that it is that the comment is put there versus when I'm able to see it. So we're going to give just a second here. 80. All right. So think about that. Think about that. All these people went and heard about all these amazing life-changing ideas and things that they could do in their business and so forth. And think about the fact that on average, maybe only about 80 of them are actually going to do anything with what they've learned. That's kind of scary, isn't it? So again, it comes back to, what are you willing to do? You know what to do. You've been trained what to do. But are you willing to do it? Are you willing that when you have, okay, so how many of you, it says that there's 6 of you here. So how many of you do not currently have the number of shows on your calendar that you would like to have? Put a me in the comment stream if that happens to be you. So if you do not currently have the number of shows on your calendar that you would like to have, put a me down in the comment stream for me. Okay. All right. So it looks like we have a couple of me's. All right. Heather says she finally used red stamp. Oh, my goodness. I'm so sorry. I failed to turn my ringer down. Sorry. Okay, so we have a couple of me's, okay? We have a couple of people who say, listen, I don't really have the number of shows on my calendar that I would like to have, okay? So that being said, how many of you have at least one, if not two, personal shows on your calendar for every single month for the next year? Put a I do in the comment stream if you have at least one, if not two, personal shows already scheduled for every single month for the next year. Anybody? Okay, so how about this? Because you just never know. Okay, so if you have that, say I do. If you don't, say I don't. Okay, that'll just let me know both sides here and make sure that I'm actually getting answers. Okay, so I'll ask the question again just in case. All right, so how many of you have at least one, if not two, personal shows already scheduled in your calendar for the next 12 months? Every single month. Okay, so listen, so when you're saying, I don't have any shows on my calendar, what you need to be saying is, it's time to get some events on my calendar. And one of the ways that I can do that is by being my own hostess. Y'all, there was a time, and it wasn't all that long ago, where Premiere only allowed us to have one personal show per year. And that was our renewal show. Okay. Then they started doing that you could have one personal show and you could have one renewal show every single year. Then it went to occasionally they would have months where they would say, you know what, you can have as many personal shows this particular month as what you would like. You can have as many as you want. And then it went to, you can have one personal show every single month. Now it is unlimited personal shows. As many as we want to do, as often as we want to do. Okay? So what is stopping us from scheduling our own shows and actually inviting people to come to those events? Okay, so again, are you willing to do that? You need shows on your calendar. Are you willing to do that? Another thing would be, are you willing to simply randomly message somebody or contact somebody just out of the blue and be like, girlfriend, let me just tell you, every time I see your Facebook, you just look like you were having a ton of fun. I would love to have some fun with you and your girlfriends just playing in my jewelry box. What do you think? Okay, now, I ask this because last week, or no, I guess it was the beginning of this week. We're on Thursday already. Okay, so the beginning of this week, I did that with somebody. Now, listen, she is someone that I've probably only talked to in person twice, but she goes to my church. We are, Kate, then you just need to meet new people. That's all, boy. And listen, don't forget that you can do online shows too, okay? So even doing online shows with people that don't live in your area, okay? So you just need to branch out, all right? So this particular woman, she goes to my church. I wound up just on a whim deciding, you know what, I'm going to send her a friend request on Facebook, even though we've only ever talked in person a handful of times, because her husband was on the church softball team, but it was the opposite team as which my husband was on. Like, they had two teams because they had enough players. So every once in a while, I would catch her at a softball game, because both teams were playing together, okay? And in those times, it was kind of like the, hey, how are you? Good, how are you? You know, that kind of thing, but not a like full-on conversation. Anyway, I decided that I was going to friend her on a whim on Facebook and thought, why not? So I friended her. It was probably about a month ago. And I noticed like she was liking almost every single one of my posts. Like I just noticed her name was just constantly coming up. And it wasn't just personal posts. It wasn't just jewelry posts. It was literally every single thing that I'm posting. And even my husband made the comment. He's like, what the world's happening that all of a sudden she is like all over your Facebook? I'm like, well, I just friended her, just within the last couple of weeks. So, but I was noticing like on her Facebook, they've done so many fun things this year. Like, I mean, literally every post that she's doing, they're like on vacation somewhere or doing something. Like they like jam packed their summer. Like, I don't even know how she managed to pull it off and still have a job. Okay. So I just sent her a quick little message that just said, hey girl, you seem like you just had a blast, and I would love to simply get together and have some fun with you and your girlfriends playing in my jewelry box. What do you think? And she didn't send back right away. She read it, but she didn't send back. And then I'm going, crap. Like maybe I did it too soon. Maybe it was too soon. Maybe I jumped the gun there a little bit. But I was also doing my own online event. So I also had invited her to that, and I just dropped another quick little message that just says, hey, sorry to bother you again, and I hope it's okay that I added you to this online event, but I would just love to get some feedback on this new format, the new jewelry, everything else, whatever you can do would be great. So she messages me that night and she says, I would love to have a jewelry show. Jewelry shows are always such a big hit with my friends. Y'all, like we've been going to the same church for, 2 years. She knew what I did, but she wasn't necessarily going to just reach out to me and be like, so, hey, I know I don't really know you, but will you do it? So I guess for whatever reason, she didn't feel comfortable just reaching out to me. So I reached out to her, and lo and behold, she's going to schedule a show for October. Like, and that just kind of blew me away. And I was so thankful when I'm like, so tell me what the least busy night of the week is for you. And she's like, Thursdays are great. And I'm like, oh, thank heavens, because that's one of the dates that I offer. And it also happens to be one that is least utilized, meaning that I have more Thursdays available than what I have Fridays and Saturdays. So I was like, oh my goodness, the heavens are like shining. You know what I mean? So I was so excited about that. But again, if I wouldn't have been willing to simply reach out, who knows how long it would have been before she finally would have been like, hey, I'll do a show. You know what I mean? And I remember even in my earlier times of Premier, I had a girlfriend. She knew what I did it was probably within my first 3 years. She knew what I did. She knew I did it for 3 years. She had even been invited to some things and whatever. But she never came. She sometimes placed an order, but she never came. And then finally, the one time she was talking about how much jewelry she just absolutely loves. And she's like, but it doesn't fit my budget. So I said, well, girl, so tell me, why haven't you ever done a show? And she goes, because you've never asked me. I was like, what? Like, how does that happen? Do y'all know that there are people out there who would be willing to do a show with you, but you simply haven't asked them? And when I asked her, I'm like, girl, listen, you know what I do. I've been doing this for 3 years. You've even purchased, through shows and things like that. Like, why? Like, seriously, why didn't you just tell me you wanted to do a show? And she said, you never asked me. So I thought maybe there was some reason you didn't want to do a show with me. She took it as there was something wrong with her that I didn't ask her, instead of it being that I was trying to not be pushy. Okay? So again, what are you willing to do? Are you willing to put your I don't want to seem pushy feelings aside so that you can reach out to people to tell them how much you'd love to just hang out with them and just spend time in your jewelry box? And you can even use the phrasing of basically like, look, girl, this doesn't have to be a big deal, but I would just love to get together with you and your girlfriends and y'all can play in my jewelry box. I'll even give you a free gift. Okay? But it's not saying like, you know, it has to be a show per se. But if it turns into one, guess what? She just got herself some free and half-price jewelry. So that's just awesome. Okay? So you have to ask yourself, what are you willing to do? Are you willing to work even when you don't feel like it? Are you willing to put your own feelings aside even when it might mean potential rejection? Are you willing to stop taking things so personal and understanding that when they say no, they're not saying no to you. They're saying no to the current offer that is on the table. That's all they're saying no to. They're not saying no to you. They're not saying no to Premier and the jewelry and everything forever. They're just saying no to the offer that you specifically gave them at this time period. That's it. It doesn't mean you never ask them again. All right, I want you to think about offering somebody a piece of gum. If we were all sitting together at a table, okay, first off, what fun that would be. Okay, but if we were all sitting together at a table and you offered me a piece of gum and I said no because maybe I was in the middle of drinking my coffee or something else, okay, and you offered me a piece of gum and I politely declined and said, oh, no, thanks. Would that deter you from asking the person who's sitting on the other side of you or anybody else at that table? Would you never ask me again if I wanted a piece of gum? If, say, dinner was done, dessert was done, coffee was done, and you went to go get yourself another piece of gum, would you not at that time say, hey, would you like a piece of gum? And maybe that time I would say yes, because I do want it. Listen, that's how casual we have to be with who we choose to offer shows to. It doesn't have to, but we make such a big deal about it in our head. And we make it like this big production, and it doesn't have to be. It can just be, hey, I'd love to bless you with some free jewelry. What do you think? And if she says no, okay, no problem. Well, I tell you what, if you happen to know anybody else who might like to get free jewelry, would you be willing to send them my way? That'd be great. Thanks so much. And move on. Like, don't get hung up on that person. Okay? So again, are you going to be willing to not take things so personal? Are you going to be willing to have faith in God that He brought you into this business for a reason? But yes, we must work, okay? It is a business. We have to work to be able to give Him something to bless. But are you going to be willing to have faith that you're going to do the efforts and He's going to bless those efforts and He's going to be the one to, give you those rewards, that He's going to be the one to allow you to have a harvest to reap, but that you have to make sure that you are having faith in the fact that He's going to do that, okay? Because, again, here's the thing. I want you to think about the fact that when you pray, if you're praying over your business, but yet you have disbelief that that is going to happen, if you pray for things to come your way in your business and you pray for people to get put in your path, but then when people are put in your path, you don't believe that God was the one who placed them there, but that they were somehow just there through some circumstance. Do you understand that you're not going to be able to take full advantage of the opportunities that God's trying to give you and the path that He's trying to put you on if you're praying for things and then you're choosing to not see them? You're choosing to put blinders on and act like, well, that person's not standing there, because otherwise I would have to talk to them, because I asked God to put people in my path. And if that person's standing there and they're looking at me and they're complimenting me on my jewelry, I'm probably supposed to say something here, but I'm too scared. So I'm going to go this way. Okay. Do you realize that when we do that, we are missing out on so much that God has planned for us? So are you going to be willing to have faith in what God has in store by simply working your business the way that you're supposed to and not getting discouraged or distracted by the no's and not taking those no's so personally, but just to realize that they just said no to that current offer. Just means not now. Doesn't mean not ever. Okay? So what is it that you are going to be willing to do in your business? Do you know that successful people do the things that unsuccessful people are not willing to do? So that might mean that you're not seeing the successes simply because you're not doing the work required to get there. Now, some of you might say, look, I work my business like crazy. Okay, then have faith that God is going to bring that harvest to you through those efforts that you've been putting out there. But it could also be that you're not spending your time wisely in the places that you should be in order to get the most out of your efforts. Does that make sense? Okay, so you also want to look at it from that standpoint is, are you doing the right things or are you just busy being busy? So again, what are you going to be willing to do? So I would love to take just a couple of minutes here quick, and I would love for you all to put in the comments something that perhaps in the past you've been unwilling to do, but you're willing to do it now. And I want you to put whatever that thing is down in the comment stream. Okay? So whatever topic it is that you've been struggling with, whatever thing it is that you're realizing you have been unwilling to do, and you're now changing your mindset on that and saying to yourself, maybe I need to be willing to do this. And I want you to put it down in the comment stream, because I think what you're going to see is you're going to see that there are a lot of people who are struggling with the very same thing that you may have been struggling with. And maybe you didn't even realize why you were struggling with it. Maybe it was just kind of something there and you never actually pinpointed it and said, that's why I haven't been doing that. Okay, so Anna, I'm assuming it's Anna, get a full calendar of bookings and not seeing people that would be open to have a show for me. Yes, okay. Heather says, talk about joining the Premier family. Woohoo! All right, Shannon says, Facebook shows going live, working the online side of my business. And we have picking up the phone. Listen, and here's the thing. It doesn't even have to be picking up the phone for purpose of phone call, because so many people don't answer their phones anymore. I know that is the way that it was with Premier, but here's what I would translate that to contacting people in the way that is convenient for them. For some, it's still going to be a phone call. Okay, that's typically going to be the older generation is going to still prefer the phone call. Then you have the other people who are totally like texting, Facebook message, whatever. So whatever it takes though. Anybody else have anything? Anything else that you are now saying, you know what, I need to be willing to do this in my business, and I'm going to make a vow right now that I'm going to do that, and put that in the comment stream so that we can see what those things are. Yes. Yeah. Listen, Maria, listen, it is truly something that I feel like has just fallen by the wayside. Just so y'all know, if your name does not come up on my caller ID as a number that I recognize, I'm not answering the phone. I'm just not. There are so many like telemarketers, solicitors, etc. that are calling, and listen, and scammers and everything. You know what I mean? Like those people who claim that, you know, they're from Windows and there's a problem with your computer, and you tell them you don't have a computer and they hang up on you, you know. Or those who are trying to claim that like they're from the IRS and they're going to come arrest you because you have back taxes due. The IRS doesn't do that. Okay, so like all these different things. So I don't answer my phone if people call, and my husband yells at me all the time because he's like, hun, you run a business, you have to answer your phone. And I'm like, no, I don't. I just have to return any messages that people leave for me. That's all I have to do. If it is somebody who's calling for something for business, if they leave a message, I will gladly return their message. I will absolutely, of course I will. And in fact, many times I'll do it within the next 5 minutes of when they called me. But I'm not going to answer it if I don't know who it is. So keep in mind that you may constantly hit a brick wall if you are trying to call people and they don't have your name and number programmed into their phone, because most people have even done away with caller ID and that kind of thing. So for many, if they don't have it programmed in their phone, they're not even going to see it. Okay, because if they don't have a landline that has caller ID, then it may come up unknown. It may come up as just a phone number with no name attached, whatever. They're probably not going to answer it. So in that case, then you can reach out through email or text or whatever is most convenient for them. But yes. All right. So I would just love to hear some victory stories from you guys this next week. So this upcoming week when we come back, because I will not be here tomorrow. David will be home. Today is his last day at his current job. He starts his new job on Monday. So we are so stinking excited. I cannot even tell you. So even when we were going to bed last night, now y'all, we have to go to bed at like 8:30 or so at night so that he can get up at 2 o'clock in the morning. Like, I struggle with that. I struggle with going to bed at 8:30, especially since he wasn't getting home till 7 o'clock. So then till we ate dinner and got things cleaned up. Actually, half the time the kids were having to put the stuff away after David and I were already heading to bed, because it was too much. So as we were going to bed last night, he's like, one more day, just one more day. And I'm so excited because on Monday, he does not have to drive to North Jersey from Delaware, but instead he is only going to have to drive about 15 minutes from the house, and he doesn't have to report to work at 5:30 in the morning. He has to be there at 8. At 8 o'clock, I'm like, oh my word, this boy is not even going to know what to do with himself. So we are super stoked about that. So next week, when we come back, I would love to hear some victory stories from you guys. Now listen, victory stories doesn't necessarily mean, hey, I got a booking on my calendar. It might, but that victory story might be, I reached out to 5 people about doing a show. Or it might be, I reached out to 5 people about sharing the business opportunity. Okay? So whatever your goal is, whatever it is that you're looking to do, that you are willing to do in your business that perhaps you have been unwilling to do before, I'd love to hear some victory stories from you next week of saying, you know what, that thing that I didn't want to do, I did it, and this is what happened from it. Okay, so that's what I'm looking forward to seeing from you guys next week. Now, I'm going to let y'all scooch. I'm going to go, I have about an hour before my kiddos get home, and then we're going to be working on some videos for my upcoming Facebook shows. So I just love y'all so much, and I just want to do a quick prayer to close us out for the week, if y'all don't mind joining me for that. All right. Lord, we just thank you so very much. We thank you for all that you are, for all that you've done. We thank you for your unfailing love and your faithfulness to us, even at times, Lord, when we may not be very lovable and when we may not seem very faithful to you. And Lord, I just ask that you continue to be with us, that you give us that spirit of courage and bravery and faith that we can do those things that you are calling us to do. And Lord, may you remove the feelings of fears and doubts and insecurities and feeling as though we're not good enough to be able to get the job done, because Lord, we know that through you, you just love us so much, and in your eyes we're perfect. So the only reason why we would ever view ourselves in any other way is because that's how the devil tries to use things against us to prevent us from following your path and preventing your will from being done. So Lord, I just ask that you just take those insecurities, that you take those doubts and those fears out of the hearts of these women and any gentlemen that might be watching as well. And Lord, I also pray for everyone's safety throughout the weekend as they get out there and they are a shining light for you, Lord, and they get out there and they're serving other people. I just ask that you be with them through all of that and that you bring us all back together safely next week. And I ask this all in Jesus' precious name. Amen. All right, y'all. So thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Mwah. Be blessed. Love you.